What's up, bookworms? I got another post from the past for you guys here today. And in July of 2023, I finished Killing the Rising Sun by Bill O'Reilly. And this is what I posted on my Facebook account when I finished Killing the Rising Sun in July of 2023. Finished Killing the Rising Sun, and this book was so good that I don't even know how to rate it. I absolutely love this book, and I highly recommend this one. I couldn't put it down. From start to finish, it was absolutely exhilarating. Every chapter, you get a different perspective or a different battle or a different atrocity that took place as we hammered our way across the Pacific to Japan. It goes into great detail about certain battles in Iwo Jima, Okinawa, Formosa, the Philippines, Saipan, and Japan. You get the war from the perspectives of President Harry S. Truman, General Douglas MacArthur, General Dwight D. Eisenhower, J. Robert Oppenheimer, Japanese Emperor Hirohito, Japanese General Hideki Tojo, and various other Japanese generals and admirals. It's got the bombings of Hiroshima and Nagasaki. It's got FDR, Winston Churchill, and Joseph Stalin. It goes into great detail and gets very descriptive when describing certain atrocities such as rapings and massacres in Nanking and the Philippines. It's got maimings, beheadings, torture, and this book was an absolute roller coaster, and I was along for the ride. This book is also not for the faint of heart, and I would recommend this book for adults only. I'm certainly glad that I read General Patton first because now I have the perspectives of the war from the best general in the European theater, Patton, and the Pacific theater, MacArthur. I've decided to stay the course and continue the campaign in the Pacific, so next I will be reading Iwo Jima. So in July of 2023, I didn't know how to rate Killing the Rising Sun, and so I'm going to give this book a 10 out of 10 as of right now. This book is still to this day one of my favorite books about World War II, and this is one of my favorite Bill O'Reilly books, and so this book has a special place on my favorite shelf. And I learned so much about World War II in this book. You learn so much about the Japanese and why they resorted to certain measures such as the kamikaze bombings and everything. And you also learn that it was actually the Russians are the reasons that we won World War II. A lot of people assume that the United States won World War II, and that's not the case. It was actually Russia lining up along the Manchurian border right after the bombings of Nagasaki and Hiroshima. And the Japanese knew that the Russians were close and that they were coming. And so they decided that it would be better to surrender to the Americans than it would be to the Russians. Because at least if they surrendered to the Americans, they could leave with certain things like certain islands and stuff that they've captured during the course of the war. And if they would surrender to the Russians, they wouldn't have gotten any of those liberties. And so that's the reason why the Japanese ended up surrendering to the Americans. It wasn't because of the bombings. The Japanese were still willing to hold out even longer, and they were actually gearing up for an assault, a mainland assault by the Americans. But as soon as they heard that the Russians were lining up and they were ready on the Manchurian border, that's when they decided to surrender. And you learn so much really good history from all these different perspectives on both the Allied and the Axis side. And so this book is definitely a top-notch history book, and that's why it has such a good place in my heart for nonfiction because of how well written it is. And I absolutely love Bill O'Reilly's writing style. So, Killing the Rising Sun by Bill O'Reilly, definitely that 10 out of 10 rating. In the meantime, bookworms, let's get out there and carpe some libro.